Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. In this episode, we are debating when or when not is a good time to recast a film or a TV series, sharing a few personal gems of actors we love, and then diving into one of the biggest movies of the year, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Let's get on with the show.
Hey, don't do that.
Why?
Because it makes me uncomfortable.
It makes you uncomfortable when you get ASMRs, this stuff? Is that what it is?
It's a bit from She-Hulk, which you didn't watch, Aaron.
God, if I have to hear about She-Hulk one more time, Jesus Christ. Oh, it's not that good.
This dorky guy sits there and goes, Wakanda Forever. And she's like, whoa, stop. That makes me uncomfortable. And I thought it was hysterical.
Well, jokes are always funny when you have to explain them, John. I'm Aaron Peterson. Joining me today are my fellow host, John Davenport.
I'm always funny, so that's that.
And Troy Heinrichs.
I also did not see She-Hulk.
You're both monsters.
I watched the first one and I just got busy. That's all it is.
You're not busy now.
The show has been done for weeks and you're still talking about it. We get it. You liked it.
How often does Troy sit there and go, hey, you got to watch a show. Hey, you got to watch a show.
It's different
hey, you got to watch this show.
And how many times does Aaron go, shows. I'm not going to watch it because you keep freaking talking about it?
Well, I don't do that to you, Troy. When you sit there and say, hey, you really need to watch this show because it is so you, I sit down and fucking watch it. And who turns out to be right? Troy turns out to be right. Urgh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened.
John doesn't turn out to be right necessarily.
How about we get back to this podcast? How about that?
Oh, right. You want to do this show?
This podcast where there's nothing in the format this week because Aaron was just like, I don't even care anymore.
I'm giving up.
Turn it off.
It's right before the holidays.
Not only is he giving up, but he's trying to find ways to cut the show down in time.
Yeah. How do we make this 13 minutes? Can we get it down to 13 minutes?
How do we make it a 15-minute show?
You know how we could trim it a lot? If we just ban the term She-Hulk, I think that would cut it at least 15%, maybe 20. I'm just saying. Somebody's obsessed.
If you guys really want to know, why Aaron wants to cut the time of the show down,
make room for Blacklist.
Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider, and listen to our recent bad movie night for Police Academy. And then you'll know why Aaron's a little bit busy lately because he has a new favorite establishment.
Dun, 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 dun. I was wondering where that end joke was going.
I thought it was the podium for a second there.
That's funny. God, that movie's so good. Amanda, she's still on the show. I promise you. She has started a new vocation, and because of that, her time is running low, and da 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 da. So she'll be here eventually.
And she's also a mountain time now. So,
but let's move on with what we do have to talk about, which isn't much. You're right. I do want to mention this. Apple TV Plus gave a straight-to-series order to an untitled series starring and created by Seth Rogen about a legacy Hollywood movie studio trying to survive in a world where it is increasingly difficult for art and commerce to live together. And just the concept feels very timely, especially when movie theaters are trying to fight against streaming for butts and seats, and I think that might be interesting. There, Troy, I found a news story.
There you go. Yeah, and the law, obviously, that also just ended with, having movie theaters be able to own movie studios or vice versa. I think that's also going to add to that competition. So I think it's a very timely movie or TV show, depending on what they're going to turn it into.
I could see Disney doing it. Well, maybe not Disney. Maybe the other studios when they're trying to rebuild, like just buying some theater chains and only putting their movies in it.
I am surprised that Disney or Apple have not bought AMC at this point.
They couldn't. There was a law prohibiting that.
Yeah, but that like broke down. What was it, like 2, 3, 4 months ago? At this point,
sure.
Or has it not actually officially been stamped and approved? And
yeah, I don't know if studios would. I don't think financially be viable to go out and just buy a bunch of theaters. I don't think unless you're going to tie it into your streaming. Hey, you can get free theater movie tickets if you subscribe to streaming, and then you also buy concessions from Disney. Oh God, Mickey Mouse popcorn tubs, that would get so old.
Well, hold on. So far, you're starting to sell me on this idea.
Get Harry Potter cups,
tower cups.
Yep.
There's something to this. Warner Brothers buys
theme park movie theaters.
Regal. Yeah, I'm in. I'm liking this.
I'm not.
Imagine the actors they would hire to bring into there before the movie started. That would be great.
Yeah. You get your pictures with Mickey and Minnie and everybody else wearing costumes because they could show up there because it can't be in Disney World at the same time.
Right. Look, it'll be an actual event to go to at night. It would be like Little Orphan Annie going to the movies with Daddy Warbucks, but different.
So ridiculous. You're weird. You know what? Here's what we're doing this week, because we are actually going to do our topic, and then we're going to talk about Wakanda Forever. Or I'm sorry, Wakanda Forever. And then we'll get there. And John, you can not reference She-Hulk now. That would be great. So we're going to move into our From the Outside In topic.
So in the Outside In, She-Hulk is awesome.
I swear to God, that's gone. That's gone. You're never going to hear that. You might not hear any of the She-Hulk stuff because I'm just tired of hearing about She-Hulk. God damn it. Also, I didn't say our show is independently funded. Therefore, all the expenses are from our own pockets, and Patreon helps fans support their favorite podcast. And once you sign up, you get immediate access to all the content in your respective tier. Now that you know how to do that, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/TheHollywoodOutsider. That's patreon.com/TheHollywoodOutsider.
You also get to go out for dinner with Aaron for some oysters.
You're just trying so. You're trying so hard. You're trying so hard.
Hey, I just want people have to pay in order to find out what's going on. That's all.
All right, our From the Outside In topic. The past few weeks have been wild with discussions on when to recast a role. Black Panther has famously chosen not to, while The Witcher decided to use the discount Hemsworth to replace the departing Henry Cavill. So let's talk about recasting actors. When is it appropriate? Now, we're going to talk about specifically Black Panther on the spoiler cast. We don't want to do that yet because we have some feelings about that. I don't think it'd be fair to kind of ruin the movie for people. So wait until that. But what do you guys think? When is it appropriate to recast an actor?
When the actor sucks. Plain and simple. I mean, this happens a lot of times when they shoot television pilots where you may or may not actually see the pilot. You might see like episode 2, which becomes the pilot, because they do a lot of recasting of a lot of roles before the TV show ever even hits the screen.
No, that's fair, but we're talking more like established characters. Like characters that have, few episodes, 3 episodes, few seasons, a movie, couple movies, whatever. When is it okay to recast that character?
When it's important to the story to keep that character in the story. So if you have a character that is a integral part of the overarching story, plot, whatever you want to call it, or they help develop the main character to a story, those are the times that it makes sense. Also, if you build a storytelling device in which the character is constantly recast so that you can continue the story beyond the age of the actors, those are also great times to recast somebody.
Yeah, I mean, specifically thinking Doctor Who, right? The whole concept of Doctor Who is that anybody can become the Doctor.
Was that always the whole concept?
Have a long-running Doctor. Yeah.
Yes,
it was. So, like when they first initially did Doctor Who, they always wanted to do this. It wasn't just because the actor left and they recast and it just became a thing.
Well, I don't think the original actor left. I think he died.
Okay, well, whatever.
It's very much like the Slayer, right? So the Buffy could have gone on forever, right? Faith became the Slayer. Then you had a bunch of all the mini Slayers. So you could have, those types of stories where it's written into the lore. I think it's great because then you can keep reinventing the show. When you just recast, that's stupid.
Yeah, I want to commend Troy for avoiding the question. The answer is, Aaron, we don't know.
He does good with that.
We don't know if that was...
It's appropriate when it's part of the story. It's fine.
Too busy waiting when to jam that next Police Academy joke in there. That's what it is.
Right. That's all he was focused on. We don't know when it comes to Doctor Who if that was always part of the story. I think what happened is they got pigeonholed into something and they had to quickly adjust to keep the story going. But Doctor Who really didn't become what it is today until the most recent iteration of Doctor Who. So
right. With David Tennant took it off.
No, it wasn't David Tennant. Well, he did take it off, but it was brought back to us by Eccleston.
Yes, but everybody talks about David Tennant more than Eccleston.
Well, yeah.
I love whenever Troy references anything, a personal opinion that he believes in, that's his personal opinion, he's like, everybody says that. That's just everybody says that. Everybody.
Yeah,
right?
but Everyone says I'm cute.
I would agree.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Thanks, buddy.
I think
buddy.
when someone dies, it's very important in real life, and their character is very important to whatever franchise or TV show. I think it's okay to recast them if you can find the right person, or if they've done something really despicable. I don't think it's fair to punish everybody else in the cast because that person's a douchebag. Then it's okay. I don't think you want to reward horrible people. On the same token, if it's kind of like a minor character and it's not necessary, then just let the character go. We don't need to recast, and I don't know why sometimes they do that.
So you're telling me somebody was horrible, like the dude that played Murray on the Goldbergs, and you think it's okay that they would have replaced Murray with a different Murray instead of doing it the way they actually did it?
What's the way they? I don't watch that show. What's the way they actually did it?
They digitally enhanced somebody, like for the couple of important scenes, like where there was a wedding and then there was a baby born, and then eventually they just said that he passed away, and the family had a funeral for him.
Well, that feels like a solid solution. I mean, I don't have a problem with it.
But they never recast him. You saying that it'd be okay to recast him in that situation?
Sure,
because the actor was an issue on set.
If you feel like you can get by and it's that important to the show, then yes. But it sounds like they decided, you know what, the character's important. We can't really recast him. It'll draw too much attention. Well, let's just move on. I think that's okay too. I think both of those scenarios are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, so that's it, and I think that's what happened exactly with Murray, is that there was no way to bring him back as somebody else. It's just he had spent so much time as the original actor, then there's just no room for it.
Yeah, there's a point of no return.
Right, and that's what happened with him.
Which I get too. I mean, sometimes it's better to write the character off. I mean, you watch a show like House of Cards, right? Kevin Spacey had all of his issues. And so they decide to do a final season without him. Now, is that the right way to go with? I don't know. I stopped watching the show. I didn't watch that season. I stopped watching long before that happened. But recasting him, I think, would be an impossible feat. That's an actor, whatever you think of him personally, he's a fantastic actor. I don't think you could find someone that could replace him in those shoes. I feel it's a little different in the comic book world because people recast those roles so readily and quickly. I mean, we've had 3 Spider-Mans. Everybody likes all 3 of them for the most part. So you can do that in that world. But I think in a House of Cards where everything is so focused on heavy drama and heavy emotion and the actors, especially that actor, I don't think you could have recast him.
Yeah, it's like you're saying you're going to put somebody else in for Hank or Aaron Paul's character in Breaking Bad. I mean, that just would not work.
So what do you prefer when actor dies, actor gets into trouble, whatever the situation is? Do you prefer characters are recast or not recast?
Not recast. Do the death scene.
So no matter what, you just want them dead.
We lost our. Yeah, just move on. I think House of Cards handled it brilliantly and how they were able to move on and keep the story going because the story still had good story to tell. And they figured out a way to make that happen. I think that's really the crux of it is focus on the story, not the character. If it makes sense for the story, go ahead and recast him, see if it works. But if it's just going to be a distraction to the story, then why even bother trying?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's essentially with the two choices we came up with, or 2 examples. There's no way to redo Murray with anybody else because Murray and the original actor, whose name is escaping me at the moment, were such an integral part of the story, and they had reached that point of no return that there's no way you would identify anybody else as a character, and it would take away from it. And it's the same thing with Kevin Spacey. The times where it's acceptable is usually if they find a great genre-esque way of making it work with things that are in a genre area, sure, I can buy that. Or if it's a side character that you need to have for character development, either recast or redevelop the character as a different character, which is what you sort of get from Angel when they lost Doyle from an Angel. They brought back somebody else to kind of keep the same sort of air about it and keep the same sort of development and the heart of the show injected into the show. But they didn't try to completely recast that same character with somebody else.
Yeah, they brought in a different character.
And just so I can get paid this week, Aaron, we have 2 situations in a show that we do for the Blacklist. In the sense of we had Brian Dennehy played the character of Dominic Wilkinson on the show, and Brian Dennehy passed away, and they replaced Brian Dennehy with Ron Raines because there was still story for Dominic to tell, although small. It was enough to be kind of jarring, to be honest, that I really didn't find Ron Raines to be a good Dom replacement at all, especially delivering vital information towards the end of his run when the character Dominic dies evenally.
I think that says more about Brian Dennehy than it does about
Ron Raines,
the other guy.
Yeah.
Right, Ryan Raines.
Well, it does. Brian Dennehy was Brian Dennehy. I mean, he was a very, very understated role for him, but he handled it masterfully. He really did.
Yeah.
It was,
and then you switch over to
Clark
Middleton on that show, right? Who played Glenn Carter. You know, when Clark passed away from his illness, it's like they just said in the show, like, no, we're just going to say something happened while Glenn was out doing a thing, and Glenn just ended up dying. And because there's no one else that could play Glenn's character other than Clark Middleton.
Yeah, and when Megan Boone decided to leave the show, rather than, recast her, which they could have done because, there were some story elements they wanted to change. The showrunner basically just decided he's going to end his version of that story, or his part of that story, and then they're not going to have Megan Boone, they're not going to have the showrunner, and they can just go on and do a different kind of show, which is what they did. So, I mean, there's that one show, boy, God, now you're putting it that way. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of issues they've had to deal with.
Right.
And also, Troy, your check is in the mail.
You know it. well, there's a whole lot of people that left the show at the end of the season 9. And as we go into season 10, there's a whole new cast pretty much.
Okay, well, let's not make a whole Blacklist episode here. So let's talk about some examples where it worked wonderfully, where recasting worked wonderfully. I'm gonna give you a couple of examples right off the top of my head. Anthony Hopkins. I think most people had no idea that Hannibal was first played by Brian Cox in Manhunter, but he was. And then Anthony Hopkins played Hannibal in Silence of the Lambs. Was fantastic. And Hopkins took it to a different level. Now they made a TV show with Mads Mikkelsen called Hannibal. And I like Mads Mikkelsen. I think he did a fine job, but he wasn't better than Hopkins. So it's kind of like they went up and they went down. But none of them are bad.
Does that count as a recast though? Because it's a completely different, it's movie versus TV.
It's the same character though. Does that not count? All right, I'll give you one that definitely counts. How about this? I like Ed Norton as Bruce Banner. Mark Ruffalo is better.
Mark Ruffalo is better.
Much better. He was that was one on my list.
Yeah. I will almost put him on my list, but I decided to leave him off just because I didn't want to go too much into comic book stuff, but sure. I did that anyways. But yeah, I definitely agree that Ruffalo is great as the Hulk and as Bruce Banner. So I never, as much as I liked the fact that Norton was a kind of a scrawny, nebbish kind of person, he doesn't play that role very well.
He's almost kind of like Fight Clubbish in a way, where he's purposely angry at the world for treating him the way he is.
Mm.
Right.
Okay. What?
Is that all you had, Aaron?
No. But I want to give you guys a chance, so go forward.
Well, I had Rachel Dawes from the Nolan Batman series, played by Katie Holmes in the first movie, and then replaced by Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Uh-huh.
So much better. So much better.
I agree because, and it's on my list too, but Maggie Gyllenhaal, as far as being an actor, is 100 times better than Katie Holmes ever was or ever can be as an actor. She just conveyed a much different feeling for the character. She told her story much better than Katie Holmes did. Katie Holmes, when you watch her, she's very much like the pretty friend, but she doesn't have heart to her like Maggie Gyllenhaal does.
100%.
Whoa. Okay, so here's where we're going to have a problem. Because on my other list of the ones that didn't work well, that's top of my list.
Really?
I was always annoyed that Maggie, and I realized it was a schedule conflict is what it was reported.
For Katie Holmes.
Yeah. It was what was reported. I don't know if that's the case or because people kind of came down hard on her in the Dark Knight in Batman Begins. Never had a problem with her in Batman Begins. Never bought Maggie Gyllenhaal in that role. I just didn't think she was good in that particular role. I'm not saying she's a bad actress or anything, but I didn't have I liked Katie Holmes, and it's a completely different kind of character. Like, she comes across as a different character almost. And Gyllenhaal kind of played her this very quiet, almost neutered acting approach, which I just didn't enjoy. And I was already connected to Katie Holmes's Rachel for the last film, so it really took me out of it a lot, especially when you have this major death scene that's supposed to be, blowing me away. The first time I saw it, it just didn't work for me because I was like, well, that's not the same character. I don't care about this character. And it didn't really work. Multiple viewings, you get obviously used to it. I think it's a masterpiece of a film. Don't get me wrong. That one recasting, I don't like.
Well, let us know what you think, dear listeners. You can go over to @BuyPopcorn on Twitter. That is if Twitter still exists tomorrow. And or hit also in the Facebook group and let us know what you think. Are John and I correct, which we most of the time are? And
wow.
Where's Aaron correct?
Wow.
One of on my list of things that worked wonderfully, going from Alec Baldwin to Harrison Ford as Jack Ryan is a really good choice. Alec Baldwin was way too pretty, way too just not right for the role of Jack Ryan, whereas Harrison Ford just ultimately makes a lot more sense. But then again, you could throw Harrison Ford in the middle of most movies and just have him eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and being mad about it, and it's a better movie than without him.
It kind of, that was a jarring one though. I gotta say,
yeah, it absolutely was. I agree.
I remember seeing as a Clear and Present Danger was the first one he did, right? Or was it Patriot Games? Patriot Games? I don't remember which one was the first. So I remember going to see that one and going, well, is this going to be different? I mean, it's the same character, but Alec Baldwin obviously played him a certain way. And then you go and watch it. I thought it was jarring. Like the first 10 minutes, just like, oh, Jesus, that's just insane. But then, and actually, no, Patriot Games was first. But after you get used to it, Harrison Ford was born for it. I mean, he's a much better Jack Ryan. And you know what's even funnier? And then you go and watch the TV series, and I think John Krasinski's even better than Harrison Ford was.
What about Ben Affleck in the middle?
No.
We just forget about that.
I agree about John Krasinski, and we can forgive Ben Affleck for that.
I didn't think he was bad, but...
No.
I really like Sum of All Fears. I like the movie.
I like the movie as Sum of All
movie.
Fears too, but it doesn't feel like a Jack Ryan story though.
How do you screw up your career that bad, Alec? I mean, obviously recent events forgotten for this conversation, but Alec Baldwin. So he gets handed this sweet ass deal, right, for this movie,
right?
Hunt for Red October, shoots him to the top. You know he was in demand, and you know it seemed to be a negotiating issue, right? That's kind of what the report has been.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine coming in and thinking you've got all the chips in your corner, and they come to you and say, you know what, we're just going to cast Harrison Ford. It's got to be like the biggest sting in your ego ever.
I think of it this way. What he did was he took the deal to his brothers, and he was talking to Steven and he was talking to Daniel, and the both of them were like hitting coke and doing whatever else. And the only person who's talking to him like a normal human being is Billy Baldwin. And Billy's just like, no, you should do this. It's a smart idea. But the two people who had shitty careers were trying to talk him into like making more money because I guess they were just sucking at his teat or something like that. And he listened to those two idiots instead of Billy.
This actually played out in your head like a real thing?
Yeah, it really did.
You think Alec is listening to Stephen and Daniel Baldwin about career advice?
That's the only thing that makes sense because he certainly didn't listen to Billy.
Because Billy's like, I was in Sliver. And then he's like, oh, shit. If he was in Sliver, then by God, I got to listen to this guy in a Hawaii Five-0 episode. Meanwhile, Stephen Baldwin is over there. Look, man, I did Biodome. If I don't know good career choices, no one does. And Daniel's like, I did something. I can't even remember what the titles were.
What was the movie that I just accidentally watched for bad movie night? I did John Carpenter's Vampires.
There you go.
And Steven's like, I took a shot in the mouth from Bryan Singer so I can be in.
Stop. Jesus. Okay. Any other ones? I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Troy, back to you. Do you have anything? Please, God, say you do.
Two other ones I had was actually interesting. Thanos was actually played by Damian Poitier, I believe it is, and then replaced by Josh Brolin when they realized that Thanos' character was going to have a little bit more meat to him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As it went along.
So to speak.
And then just from a voice perspective,
You're 12.
Many people don't know that Meg from Family Guy was actually voiced by Lacey Chabert.
Oh, yeah, Chabert. Yeah.
Chabert.
Chabert? Is that how you say it? Oh, he said
Chabert.
3 different definitions. No one knows how the fuck to say her name. So
It's pronounced Lacey Chabert.
Okay, Lacey Chabert.
Stop trying to make fetch happen. Mia Kunis is the one that then took over. And
Or Kunis.
What the fuck did you just say?
Mila Kunis. Clunis? There's no L in that.
Mia? Not Mila?
Mia Kunis. I can't speak because I have no voice today.
Mia Clunis.
But is your tongue like stapled to the roof of your
yeah,
mouth
Does
or
your
something?
tongue put the L on the other side? I don't know how that works. What is that? Is that an accent thing?
Can you say I was born on a pirate ship?
I was.
Well, there's news, Troy. The Pirates of the Caribbean female version with Margot Robbie. That whole movie's dead.
Is dead?
Yep, they're not making it anymore.
That's a bummer.
Disney killed it.
Disney killed it. It is very sad.
They were
I
like,
was looking forward to that.
They were like, if we have to redo the Pirates of the Caribbean rides again, we're just going to spend way too much money.
Yeah, they're probably like, well, Johnny Depp's kind of out of that hole now, so maybe we can make something work. Savvy.
He's still down there underneath Orleans Place in both parks.
Well, anyway, back to your Megan Family Guy. Yeah, that was a fun fact. I didn't realize that, but I went back and listened to an episode, and it's a noticeable difference too.
It's a noticeable difference.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. I didn't want to do the whole comic book thing, but swapping in Don Cheadle for Terrence Howard was a good choice. Terrence Howard has more of that, like that mannequin superstar look to him, but Don Cheadle is hands over fists a much better roadie than
bullshit. Look, I get why they did it. He was obviously making financial demands, and apparently still thinks Robert Downey Jr. owes him money over it or whatever. That's a whole actor ego thing I ain't getting in the middle of. But I will never, ever sit on an argument that says Don Cheadle is a better actor, but a better roadie? I don't think so. Terrence Howard was great.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Aaron on this one. There's even a line, I think it is, during when in that was it second Iron Man when he shows up.
You look different.
He was like I'm here now.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
It's very, very clearly stated, like, I took over. Shut up and sit down. Like, no. Like, I love Don Cheadle. I think he's great, but it was a horrible decision.
I think the banter between Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr. was better than the banter between Terrence Howard and Robert Downey Jr. The banter was like chemistry was much better.
I think our facts are correct, and you're wrong. No, the banter was better with Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard.
Okay.
Buy popcorn if you believe Aaron and Troy.
Like
if Twitter's still there,
marketing machine
or
over
Facebook
here.
Group. Do we have a check mark yet? Did you pay the $8?
Oh, I'm gonna pay the $8. Oh, absolutely.
You can't pay the $8 after the fiasco the other day.
Oh, explain.
When Elon got trolled by somebody paying $8 to become Elon.
No, it was like people literally bought check marks for every company out there. Like there's a whole. I'll get the link from my wife. It is the best thing you'll read in your entire life. It's so funny.
And they just started talking like John thinks.
There was actually I can't remember
very pervy.
I can't remember which company it was, but they actually said like
sounds like my people.
There was a company that made not a virus, like medicine or something, and they basically said like it didn't work, and the stock tanked, and the company lost billions of dollars on the stock market.
Oh my god!
Because of it.
The internet is fun.
The internet is so fun.
Be sure to share our podcast on your favorite internet provider. You can go ahead and use our name and make dick jokes if you want, if that makes you happy.
Yeah, totally fine.
It doesn't stop us from doing it.
It doesn't stop you from doing it. I also want to say Mads Mikkelsen, I think he makes a better Grindelwald. I finally saw that third movie. I think he's a better Grindelwald than Johnny Depp was.
Oh, by far. Johnny Depp showing up in the first one. It was like, I'm not even watching the rest of these because Depp is in it.
Mads Mikkelsen being the love interest of Dumbledore makes more sense than Johnny Depp, you know? Dumbledore is a classy dude. He's not going to
He's not going to date a pirate. He's like, I ain't dating no pirate.
He's not going to be going after 50-year-old Billy Idol. That's just not how it's going to work.
That's kind of funny. Sorry. I don't know why I found that so funny. I've never actually pictured him, but now I'm never going to not picture Grindelwald as Billy Idol. That's going to be awesome.
Right. For sure.
What do you want? I want more. All right. How about the reverse? Stuff that didn't work. I already mentioned one of my big ones, but I'll throw another one. Jennifer in Back to the Future. Does not work at all. I love
Elizabeth Shue is great.
Yeah, she's great. But
it's
didn't
jarring.
Work. It's jarring. And the way they have her hair done in that, trying to look like the last actress, what was her name? Claudia Wells. It just didn't work. Nothing about that worked. And every time she's a prominent part of either one of those sequels, takes me completely out of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know what's the matter with you two. I barely remembered who the hell Claudia Wells was, and I was 100% on with Elizabeth Shue. So,
I mean, both ladies are nice to look at, but it just didn't do the service for the movie. Like, you're just like, that's not Jennifer.
What kind of service are you looking for?
Stop it! God damn it! Do I have to ban you two? How about a better one?
Why? Because he serves it up and I bring it home.
How about Rachel Weisz with Maria Bello in the third Mummy movie?
That's actually on my list. Okay. I as much as I love Maria Bello, I think she's great. She was not Evie. Rachel Weisz is 100% Evie. There's no trading that out. I know it's 100% because Rachel Weisz said that there's no way she's playing some young man's mother, because as soon as she does that, her career will be 100% from that moment on playing the mom or grandma or something else like that, which if that's my mom, I have problems, but still.
We agree. See? It happened eventually.
I think it's the first time in a while.
Well, stop being so wrong all the time.
Well,
I'll work on that.
I'll throw 3 out that you guys will definitely agree with. Lori Foreman, that 70s show.
Never watched it, didn't care.
Lisa Robin Kelly got replaced by Christina Moore in the 6th season. That was just weird. It's like 6 seasons in at that point. This is the one where it's like, okay, Lisa went to college, and we never have to see Lori Foreman ever again. But they replaced it with Christina Moore, and it just didn't work.
I don't remember it as much as you do.
It's been a while.
Yeah. It wasn't a show that I loved.
Wasn't it because the original Christina Moore was the one that went to jail or something, or got high and drove a car off a cliff? Something like that, wasn't it?
It'd be the other way around. Christina Moore was the replacement for Lisa Robin Kelly. Becky,
but I'm not wrong about what she did.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically, but it was just weird. It was like jarring. Becky and Roseanne, but bouncing between Alicia Goranson and Sarah Chalk.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't bother me.
Did Roseanne have a new kid? Like, I'm so confused.
I don't know if it didn't bother me, but I do like that they got both actresses for the Connors reboot. That was kind of cool.
And then Aunt Viv, Janet Hubert getting replaced for Daphne Reed. The character was completely different after the recast in season 3.
Yeah, that messed me up a bit. I didn't know what the hell to do with that one.
Janet felt like it was like an equal.
Yep.
Like
100%.
Like someone that could actually like question.
Strong, career driven, independent.
Yeah. And then Daphne became like a housewife.
Yep. I didn't like that change at all. At all. Ugh. And especially once you read all the articles about Janet Hubert and apparently the hell she went through. And then you watch where because she did not like Will Smith. Her and Will apparently did not, because she felt he got her fired. And it sure seems like that's the case. He kind of acknowledges that in that reunion special where they spend time together. But, man.
Probably.
Stop it. Son of a bitch. Stop it. Oh, that one's probably going to come out.
All right. So one of mine is Julianne Moore for Jodie Foster. Like, that transition did not work for me. I thought that though Julianne Moore is great, she's no Jodie Foster. That's in Silence of the Lambs, or the whole Hannibal series.
That's more direct recasting. So
again, is it a different movie? It's not like it's a continuation of.
No, that's
original, right?
Anthony Hopkins is the same character, so it's the same series. Yes.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I screwed up. Yeah. John is accurate. I guess I screwed up. I mean, still the same character, but whatever. But Jodie Foster, I love Julianne Moore, but she is not Jodie Foster. I think Jodie Foster is one of the best actresses of all time, personally.
Well, Jodie Foster is Clarice, right?
Mm-hmm. She is.
Julianne Moore is a great actress too, but she's not Clarice. There's no way.
I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, man. It's like I want a Snickers, but instead it's just like the white box brand, like when you were a kid, the generic brand. That's how drastic a difference it was to me. It's not that Julianne Moore is a generic actress. She's not. She's a great actress. But Jodie Foster so inherently inhibited that character. Julianne Moore just couldn't win, Yeah.
I'm still just having trouble with that analogy that you
Julianne Moore is the Milky Way. It tastes good. It's fine.
That's better.
But it's just not as meaty as you get with the Snickers because you get the extra crunch with the nuts.
Okay, that's better. Thank you, Troy.
I think my analogy worked. You probably didn't have those. Like when we were kids, like generic stuff you got at Aldi was the store, where you go and you get cheap food and whatnot. And everything, they were in a white box.
I only just discovered Aldi in my 40s.
Okay, well, as being a poor kid who came from a very, very poor neighborhood, when we went shopping, we had no money, so we would get food at Aldi, and it was in white boxes with big black letters that told you what it was. So it would say like candy bar or cereal or whatever. Cheese.
Yeah, I was in Panama at the time. I don't know what to talk about.
Then we have to say that Harrison Ford is the Snickers. John Krasinski is the Milky Way. Alec Baldwin was the Three Musketeers. And
whoa. Three Musketeers is pretty damn good.
But it's just chocolate and nougat,
just
right?
Nougat.
Chocolate nougat and caramel and chocolate nougat caramel and nuts, right? And then
you
Ben
keep
Affleck
saying right
Charleston
like you're
Chew.
correct every time you say it, and that's not how it works. Where's Reese's in this? Because that's better than all of them. I said it.
It's separate. It's a completely different shape. We're talking about bars, not cups.
Okay, so what about a fast break? A fast break is a great bar.
What?
Who the hell has heard of a fast break bar?
A Reese's fast break? Don't you know what a Reese's fast break
Where's
is?
Where's whatchamacallit at? Because that's the best bar out there.
That's, they now have who's-a-macallits?
I don't want. What is that?
I do not want to do a who's on first.
Is it a whatchamacallit that I went through an identity crisis or what? I don't understand.
Who's a McCall it? Whatchamacallit?
Yeah, it's a whatchamacallit with like something different about it. So they call it a who's-a-what's it.
Okay. No, I haven't heard this. I feel like you just made it up.
I did not. So Michael Huisman.
Oh, is this Game of Thrones?
Yeah, this is Game of Thrones. Who replaced Ed Skrein
Mm-hmm.
as Dario Naharis. That was a pretty jarring replacement because in the season prior to Michael showing up, Ed shows up for 2 episodes of the last season of Game of Thrones that he was in, and then they immediately swap him out because I believe he went to go shoot the Transporter show instead of continuing to do Game of Thrones, which good on him for making that brilliant choice.
Maybe it was because I don't even remember this character at all in the Game of Thrones
Dario.
scheme of things.
Dario Naharis.
You don't remember Dario? He was
No, I do.
Daenerys' right hand. That's it. It was.
Oh, that way.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really notice the difference.
You didn't notice that difference.
How did you not notice a difference?
One it has blonde hair, one has a dark hair and a beard. Like it wasn't even close. How do you not notice that difference?
You could cut glass with Ed Skrean's, facial bones. You couldn't do that with Michael's.
It must have been during the time when I binge watched all 6 seasons.
Maybe if you didn't watch shit at
like,
3 times speed, dude, maybe you'd pick up on the subtle difference of a guy grew an entire beard and dyed his hair black.
Also, probably about 3 feet taller.
Also, didn't have any overtly impression on the end of the show in the first place. So who cares?
Okay, I agree with you, John. That was quite one. Michael Gambon as Dumbledore, I think wasn't even a flicker of the strength of character Richard Harris had in his presentation. I think Harris is a better Dumbledore dead than Gambon was alive. That's how much I didn't like Gambon as.
It wasn't a bad transition. The problem was
I didn't like it.
Yeah, when he comes in later on, right, and especially Goblet of Fire, it's because he doesn't portray the Dumbledore of the books. I think he'd be fine Dumbledore if he had spent more time with the material.
I don't think he was good. He just wasn't good. I don't care who, from the books or not from the books. Richard Harris was an endearing, entertaining, engaging. You were constantly watching him. You were just kind of enchanted by him. Where Michael Gambon or Gambone, however you say his name, Gambon.
Gambon.
I heard it both ways.
every time he's on screen, I'm just bored. He's a boring actor. It's nothing personal. He just found his performance very boring in every single movie. You have the moment where, he gets killed, and I had no feeling whatsoever at all. And if it was Richard Harris, I would have been gutted. But I had no feeling at all because I just thought that the performance had been bland. I just didn't find his performance good.
I guess I accepted it because 4, 5, and 6 were actually bland movies in general.
Might be. I guess we should also mention, nobody ever talks about this, but Lavender Brown was a black actress, and then the next movie it was like a white actress. Nobody ever talks about that, and I don't understand.
It gets brought up every now and again, but in quieter circles as opposed to people being overt. I think they just...
they want to slide right by that one?
Yeah, well, they've got so many other alligators to go after when it comes to not Game of Thrones, but Harry Potter, that they're just focusing on the big ones as opposed to that one.
That should be one that they should focus on, internet, because that's quite the... You're going to dig up stuff from 20 years ago and everything else and tweets and whatnot. That was quite the casting change. It's like, eek. But yeah, so that's a lot of what I had. So anything else from you guys, or do you want to go with what listeners had to say about the topic?
The example that John McCarthy brings up is Bond, James Bond. It's hard-written or hardwired into the franchise as part of the fun seeing who's the next actor it's going to be. I agree with that. This goes back to our conversation about being for Doctor Who as well. It's something that's hardwired into the franchise that makes the whole thing work. I like it. I have yet to be disappointed by any of the James Bonds that I've seen on screen. That I think there's only one that I haven't, and one that I've watched through a documentary instead of watching the actual James Bond that he did, which I can't remember what his name was, but he was the Australian James Bond.
George Lazenby?
Yes, George Lazenby. There was a thing on Hulu about his life.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's fascinating watch. And then Andreas says, mostly recasting in TV show does not go very well. His example is Spartacus, when Andy Whitfield died and they brought on Liam McIntyre to replace the role. Liam did his best, but he just wasn't Andy Whitfield in any way, shape, or form. He goes on to say, as for movies like James Bond and Batman, he's typically pretty open-minded about those, and he doesn't care as much.
Andy Whitfield was a big one. That was Liam just didn't come close to his performance, really, his gravitas. And as far as Batman, always liked Val Kilmer more than Michael Keaton.
I could see that.
Didn't like the movies as much.
Because Val was a better Bruce.
Absolutely. I thought he was a better Batman. I didn't like Michael Keaton as Batman ever. so did nothing for me. But I definitely would. In fact, I'd probably put George Clooney above Michael Keaton. Just this movie is awful.
Okay, now you're just freaking smoking drugs or something.
All right.
What the hell just happened?
This is how Aaron makes friends and alienates people, is what it is.
Wow. Your favorite club isn't even letting you in after that comment anymore.
All right. Dang. Troy, you're
up. Lynn Valaquette Griffin. I hope I said that right because we can't pronounce names on this podcast anyway, especially me. I think the craziest recasting incident was for the new Dynasty that aired recently. They switched Crystal twice and then had a new one named Crystal who actually wasn't even playing the same character.
Oh.
But that whole sentence makes my head hurt.
That's wild.
Yeah. But it's a soap opera, so that's what happens. People die, come back to life, same person, different person. Doesn't matter at the end of the day. And then Philip Vaughter said the ABC show American Housewife handled it in an interesting way when the youngest daughter was recast between seasons. After you see the new actress for the first time, the camera pans over to the mom, and the mom actually says straight into the camera, breaking the fourth wall, kids change.
That's interesting.
That's actually funny. Yeah, I like that.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Adam Smith, I'm almost never a fan of recasting. I can't get over the fact that a character looks completely different and nobody acknowledges it and act like nothing changed. It really pulls me out of whatever I'm watching. The only time it doesn't bother me is if there's a significant time jump like House of the Dragon and The Crown. Now, I like this comment because I kind of want to bring it up. Does it bother you when it's part of the story, like they've already written it that way? And so that's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be a new actress and a new period. Does that bother you kind of to what he's saying?
No, the House of the Dragon makes total sense. You're going from a teenager to a full-fledged, mother of 3 or whatever it was at the point when the time jump happened.
If they've planned it out properly, ultimately, and if they've done it well and you get a good team, yeah, it's going to end up working out no matter what. But my only problem comes in where I get attached to certain actors playing a role, and I like the way they're portraying that role. And then when they are replaced because of the time jump, I have to rebond with them.
Sure.
And that doesn't always work.
But depending on that time jump, if it's 10 years, 20 years, it's a completely different period in their lives. You're going to have a completely different perspective of, even if the same character were to do that role, like their life experiences are going to make them a completely different character. So why not just use a new character, a new actor?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, you also have to have a good makeup crew, right? Because if you use the same actor to try to play a young and an old version during a time jump, it's really up on the makeup is really going to make that difference. This Is Us comes to mind. Like they did a really great job on all the different facets, right, of making the characters the way they were, going back from the 70s all the way up into the present day, because the makeup crew did a really great job on that.
Barbara Harris. There was an American afternoon soap opera we watched in the summer months where a character was played by Meg Ryan, Julianne Moore, and Lindsay Frost, and they all went on to bigger and better things. So I guess recast them if they're going to have a better career choice.
But again, like mid-afternoon soap operas, that works.
I mean, you got to expect it because they're going to be on for 27 years. My God.
Right. Susan died, and then 4 years later, oh my gosh, Susan wasn't dead. Susan was actually kidnapped by somebody, and now she's escaped.
And now her twins.
She got a brand new head.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Well, we got to talk about something before we move on. I don't know if you guys are gamers, but I love Halo. I'm not very good at it, but I love the game. I love Halo. And when I went to South by Southwest this past March, I was able to catch the first episode of Halo in a theater with hundreds of fans, maybe even 1,000 fans. And they went nuts, absolutely nuts. They loved Halo, the TV series. And if you were unable to catch it on Paramount Plus, get ready, because the first season of Paramount Plus' series Halo, based on that very same Xbox game franchise, is now available on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K UHD. With every episode from season 1 and over 5 hours of special features, you can see Master Chief, Cortana, and the other Spartans of Silver Team take on humanity's greatest threat, the Covenant. Get your DVD, Blu-ray, or 4K UHD copy of Halo today from Paramount Home Entertainment. And guess what? We have several copies of Halo, the whole entire first season, to give away to listeners. And if you want to get some of those copies, if you want to enter a contest to win, send an email to contests@thehollywoodoutsider.com. That's contests@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Make sure your name's on there and let us know that you want to be entered into that contest. And the subject line, I jump for Halo.
Master Chief.
I jump for Halo. That's the subject line. All right. So please send that in and we will get you entered into a contest to win, and winners will be notified.
Remember, the contest is for the TV series, not the game.
Yeah, I ain't giving any games away. Sorry, buddy. Can't help you there. Go on Xbox. Actually, you know what?
Buy Game Pass.
Yeah, buy Game Pass. Boom.
Yeah.
You can play all of them. Great games. But definitely watch the series. It's a great series. And just be mindful that, they take liberties like they do with any adaptation. All right, so now we're going to move on to discovering an actor's gem. Each of us takes a favorite actor of ours and discusses a film of theirs rarely talked about in film circles, just to kind of give you a recommendation, because we're not here next week because of the holiday. So we're giving you a little something to look for, something to watch when we're gone. So to clarify, pick a very obscure and possibly against type role. Okay, John, you go first.
Is Thanksgiving next week?
Yes, it is.
It is next week.
Oh my God. All right. So the movie I picked, and I figured I'd go ahead and choose The Rock because The Rock is everywhere at the moment because of Black Adam. The movie I picked, as far as something that was way out of left field for him to play, was Southland Tales. And another side reason why I picked it, everybody, and I mean everybody who's in this movie, is playing a role against type. And I just think it was a masterfully done movie. It's one of those things that you have to be really in the mood for to sit down and watch and actually pay attention to the whole thing. And The Rock is playing a character who's an actor, but also thinks he's a super spy, and the way he's playing the character is very like afraid of his own shadow. And it's interesting to watch him do that in comparison to the huge gravitas that he has and everything else that he's ever done. And yeah, that's why I chose it.
All right. Interesting choice. Troy, what about you?
I actually had two, and they're kind of in the same kind of.
Jesus Christ, Amanda. I guess she is here.
But I was filling in the role, so we had four in total.
Yeah.
They're the same concept, I guess. So I'm going to pick Shailene Woodley, of all people. Shailene.
What has she done to you?
Well, Shailene was also, dating Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers was really awesome. So I'd really wish they could get back together instead of who he's dating now. But she did Adrift, and I thought this was a very much not, romance, teeny bopper thing that she had done in the past. And I think her performance in Adrift was actually really fantastic and helped her break out to get things like Big Little Lies and really set her career in a different direction. If you haven't seen Adrift, I highly recommend it. It's really, really well done. In the same vein, Blake Lively, she's always the popular gossip girl, pretty sisterhood of traveling pants, or even vindictive in a way, and then looking at that from A Simple Favor. But if you haven't seen The Shallows, The Shallows is so good. Like, I'll rewatch that like multiple times because it's just her versus a shark, and it's freaking fantastic.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah. So it's both of these kind of like loner type where they really break out into a completely different thing that you would expect from their typecasting.
Mm-hmm.
Both those movies are really, really fantastic.
Good recommendations. Well, mine, I'm going all the way back. I'm hopping the time machine. We're going back to 1987, where we discussed Police Academy on our Patreon exclusive Bad Movie Night podcast. That's what Troy was alluding to earlier. And that brought up Steve Guttenberg, who's an actor I always loved. And we were talking about how I wish he would have continued to be a bigger star because he had that Tom Hanks appeal. Yeah, it just, for whatever reason, he phased out a little bit. He was huge in the 80s and the early 90s, and no one talks about my favorite movie of his. This is my favorite movie that he ever did, which is really rarely ever talked about, and that's called The Bedroom Window. It's from Curtis Hanson, who directed The Hand That Rocks the Cradle and LA Confidential, so it's from a real solid director. Made about $5 at the movie theater, so nobody saw it. But it's a wonderful thriller that is very, very Hitchcockian in nature. Guttenberg stars as Terry Lambert, and Terry's having an affair with his boss's wife. That dick! Well, his boss's wife happens to witness a brutal attack on Terry's neighbor, but she does not want to come forward and expose the affair. So Terry elects to go to the police so that this guy is caught, because there's also, some murders happening around town. He doesn't hurt someone else. He doesn't want that to happen. Turns out the attacker is a rapist murderer. And now the cops think that maybe, just maybe, it's actually Terry, because sometimes killers love to get attention. So Terry has to set a trap to catch the killer before either he's arrested or he kills again. And he can't just tell the cops that it was the mistress that saw it, because then the affair is exposed. So with the help of the attacker's latest victim, he sets this trap. And what I love about the movie is, first, the casting. Terry Lambert is an absolute prick on the page. He's sleeping with his boss's wife. He's not great. He's a horrible guy. But he still wants to help this girl that was attacked. So Guttenberg makes it so easy to empathize with Terry, because that's who Guttenberg is. He's a guy that's really easy to just believe in. And Elizabeth McGovern is in here as Denise, the attackee, and she agrees to help Terry because she wants to catch this guy, and eventually also becomes quite the aggressor and a very strong character in her own right, even as she struggles with this attack and the after effects. It's very atmospheric. It's very thrilling. It's riveting, very chilling. The villain is very, very unnerving. It's one of my favorite thrillers of the 80s overall. And as one of the hosts of Presenting Hitchcock, a wonderful Hitchcock podcast, there are tons of nods to Hitchcock in this movie as well. So The Bedroom Window.
It's a book, wasn't it? Based on the book The Witness?
Witnesses, I think was what it was.
Memory serves?
Yep.
Witnesses?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Great movie. Absolutely great movie.
I might turn around and pick that up.
Should. We're going to turn around and depart from John Davenport because he has not been able to see a Black Panther or Wakanda Forever because he is still living in the mountains. But pretty soon, I hear news that soon you might be near a movie theater again.
Yep. The plan is to, within the next 2 months, get myself back into civilization, get myself back into a life in which I get to enjoy the movie theater on a regular basis, and I'm excited.
In the fancy movie theater at that, not the peasant theater.
Oh my God, I can't wait to have that burger.
Can't wait to be full of myself all over again.
As long as you don't have the entire 750 milliliter bottle of wine that the guy had next to me, because he drank the whole bottle in the 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I don't drink wine, so I'll be all right.
You had a whole bottle of wine for the movie?
I would drink wine, but I'm not drinking a whole bottle in a 2-hour movie.
Well, it's not a 2-hour movie if it was Wakanda Forever, because that thing's 3 hours. Man, that's long. I had a baby crying the whole time. The whole time.
Oh my God. That sounds like my personal hell.
That's why I believe in contraception.
Oh, sure. Now you believe in contraception.
Took me a few swings to get it. All right, John, that's going to do it. So thank you for being here. We'll talk to you later.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Okay, John is gone. Now we're going to talk about Black Panther. Wakanda Forever. That never gets old.
Wakanda Forever.
All right, first, let me give you a description of what this story is. And we're going to give you a quick spoiler-free review. And then we're going to jump into actual spoilers because I think it's too hard to talk about this particular movie without getting into some of the details. Wakanda Forever immediately opens with the death of King T'Challa. Thankfully, that occurs off screen. Much like Chadwick Boseman's death impacted audiences around the world, we witnessed the impact of King T'Challa's death on not only Queen Ramonda and Princess Shuri, but on the citizens of Wakanda as well. Overall, this is really an unprecedentedly genuine presentation of death by Marvel and is captured with a finger consistently tapping on the heart of Chadwick himself. Then we move forward with Wakanda Forever's story of rebuilding, both the franchise and the Black Panther myth as well. Wakanda is under siege by foreigners demanding the vibranium that King T'Challa had promised to share with the world. Nations' governments demand these resources while simultaneously conducting covert operations to forcefully steal the coveted materials. One thing Wakanda Forever does amazingly well is point out that humans cannot be trusted with endless power and that King T'Challa made a really naive call on this decision. I mean, truly, like 10 minutes in, and by Wakanda's own account, T'Challa brought more hell on Wakanda than Killmonger ever dreamed. Whoops. Anyway, as it turns out, it is not only Wakanda that holds a healthy supply of vibranium. An underwater city akin to Atlantis, known as Talokan, also holds the material and has existed in peacefully unknown isolation for generations. Thanks to T'Challa's poor life choices, the Talokan people, mutants fully adapted to an aquatic life who are led by Namor and look remarkably like the Na'vi from Avatar, are now under siege and having their home decimated by foreigners desperate to kick up any vibranium these intruders can muster. Basically, their home is at the bottom of the ocean. Maybe Shuri should call Dr. Strange, ask for one of them little memory favors. Seems like the world needs to forget about vibranium ASAP. Thanks a lot, T'Challa. Anyway, Namor poses an opportunity or a threat. We're not quite sure, depending on how Wakanda sees it. Identify the mysterious scientist who has developed the vibranium identification tool, which is leading all of these governments to their hidden city, and bring them to him for slaughter, or face war with Talokan. Fierce warrior Okoye whisks Shuri away on a quest to find the scientist while simultaneously hoping it will help her process her grief, and everything goes sideways. Throughout the course of the film, two things are certain. You will feel the impact of Chadwick Boseman and King T'Challa's death, and we will be treated to the birth of a brand new Black Panther, even if it takes well over 2 hours to get there. Troy, quick review with your score of Black Panther Wakanda Forever before we get into spoilers.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever was awesome. I saw it at an 8:15 a.m. show because they think it's going to be that popular that they needed to have more showings. And I did see it in the AMC Prime Theater. So my butt shook and it was awesome. My theater was not filled with really rowdy people that were crying and making a complete disaster of everything, because I saw it with a bunch of people that were probably 20 years older than me. There were a couple weepy people through the course of the movie, which is kind of cool. But generally speaking, it is not as good as the first one. It is entertaining. It does have some very long exposition scenes, which, I absolutely can't stand. But at the same time, it's a good follow-up. It's a good way to transition into a few characters. I don't know if we could talk about them right here, but those characters I think are going to be pretty amazing as we move forward into phase 5, which will hopefully be redeeming phase 4's mediocrity. But all in all, it's definitely worth a watch. The new effects and everything that they do for the water people are pretty awesome. And I think it's going to completely shoot Avatar in the foot because of it. So I'm going to win the bet between me and Aaron.
From last week. And if in other words, full price of admission, what do you give it?
It's long. A hard 7.
Okay.
It's got a good story. It's got a really good story. It's just it needed to be trimmed up a bit.
Okay. I will say Letitia Wright, I think, acts her ass off. She really kind of carries the movie. And she has a gravitas to her and a very powerful level of emotion to her character that she has to go through. A lot of ups and downs throughout the movie. I agree with Troy. It's too long. There's probably a good 20 minutes that I would wish would be cut out. I think that's the danger of not recasting, because you basically have to rebuild the whole franchise, right? And do it a little different in many respects, where if you would have recast T'Challa, you could have just hit the ground running, made some mention of it, and moved forward with Namor and the Talakan people. I really enjoyed it, though. It's a good film. I love the performances. Letitia Wright and Angela Bassett are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal in this
Bassett
movie.
is phenomenal.
Yep, absolutely. Just fantastic performances. My issues that I do have to do with it's too long. It takes 2 hours before you actually see Black Panther proper, the new Black Panther. So it's, that's a long way to go. I just feel like it's overstuffed. There's too much going on here. There's too many factors, and it feels bloated by the end of it. The action also is not particularly memorable, where I think the action in the first movie was great. There's a magnificent set piece with Shuri and Okoye that I think is just wonderful. That action is just fantastic. But the concluding chapter, which should be the best set piece, I think is really just kind of boring. And that's not the way that you want your superhero extravaganza to end. So $10 full price admission, I give it $6.50. And here's where we're going to roll into spoilers, because we kind of want to talk about this openly. So if you haven't seen it, I would recommend you turn the podcast off now. That's your last warning. We're not doing it again. So let's get this out of the way. Now that we know who the Black Panther is, our whole theme on this episode is recasting. How do you feel? Should they have recast, or do you like the direction that they're going with Letitia Wright as Black Panther?
It's in the comic book, right? I mean, like, this wasn't a surprise how this was going to play out. I think that's probably what hurt the movie, was that it took so long to get there that you're kind of like, well, duh, Yeah,
that kind of did irritate me, honestly. I mean, it is in the comics that Shuri becomes Black Panther. So why tease it so much? Why make people wait? Why not get the story moving faster with her as the Black Panther?
There's a whole thing with Okoye and the fact that she gets stripped from her general status, and you're like, oh, this is how she's going to become the Black Panther. She's going to take up the mantle. It's going to be different than the comic book, because she's going to go on her own and solve the world's problems, and because of that, she's going to become the Panther. Like there's so much you could have done with that storyline. You could have done the same storyline with T'Challa's spouse, the Queen.
Nakia.
She could have become the Black Panther, and yeah, the fact that it
wasn't.
so
keep in mind that wasn't his spouse, though. They weren't married. That was his girlfriend. So they weren't actually. So she wasn't actually the Queen.
But didn't they get married like after the end of the movie? Like it's like
no, they could have. I mean, they could have. They could have written it that way, but that's not what happened. She went away and had a secret child and never told him, or never told Shuri, the person that obviously he loves most in the world next to his mother, and somehow he doesn't tell her that. That one just bugged me, but that's another story.
Yeah.
So you're good with the way that they rolled with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way the comic books rolled. I mean, you get the introduction to Ironheart. It's the way the comic books rolled. It's fine. It fits the story. I just wish it would have been like in hour 1 instead of hour 3 when you find out who the Black Panther is going to be. Okay, it was like 2.5.
Yeah,
really 3, but
it's long. But
it felt like 3.
Here's what I have to say about it. it took so long to get there. I really, really wonder if recasting wouldn't have been better in some respects. It has nothing to do with Letitia Wright. I think she did a wonderful job acting wise as Shuri. I think she really just ran the gamut of emotion. She captured the screen. My issue with Black Panther as it is now is, and I don't know if it's because it took so long, we didn't get enough time with her as Black Panther, which is very possible. But the physicality of Black Panther just didn't work for me. Didn't seem that formidable. With Namor, it felt like that was more scripted than would actually happen. I don't think she has the physicality or however it was portrayed, the CGI, whatever. I just don't feel like the physical performance of Black Panther was anything interesting enough to go forward with. It just felt like I needed more oomph from that delivery, and I didn't get it.
But the heart is giving him the power. I mean, it's not that the Black Panther has to look like M'Baku.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like it never came across as, even it was all CGI in the last movies, and for whatever reason, that Black Panther just came across more formidable, like a real foe. And I just feel like this Black Panther did not deliver in that same respect. And it's really hard to pinpoint why. I don't think it's anything to do with Letitia Wright. She is skinny. And so maybe that's why that's the design. They had to make the CGI creation of Black Panther much more, much thinner. And maybe that's part of it. But I think also it's taking 2 hours to get there. It's, it drug its feet so long to get there. So like the other story, the dealing with grief, the coping with loss and all that stuff works great. But the actual Black Panther, which is in the title, was not as domineering for the movie for me. It just kind of...
Well, and the Black Panther is still struggling through all of that stuff too. The grief, the emotion.
But once you see Black Panther, I should be going like, damn, like Shuri on the motorcycle was great. Shuri in that mid-movie set piece was fantastic. Black Panther here didn't deliver for me. Just didn't do it. I didn't buy a lot of what was happening with Black Panther. And also, I don't like that ending set piece on the ship. I thought it was kind of boring and looked a little mundane. So it wasn't great, and I think it could have been great, and it wasn't.
Yeah, and they're supposed to crash in the desert, and they basically crash on a beach. It's like, how close to the water can we be? The idea was to crash in the desert. There's no water in the desert.
And he is 5 feet from a puddle, and he can't get to it. Okay.
You're right.
Yeah. There's a lot of plot holes in this one. I mean, some of it I just let go, but there's a lot of just, what the hell are you talking about? Plot holes in this movie.
Now, where the movie redeems itself, though, is the way that they handle Chadwick Boseman. From the opening, when you get the Marvel sequence,
beautiful,
right? To get the Marvel logo, and it's just all silent and pictures of Chadwick Boseman. It's like, man, people are crying in the theater. So good. The normal end of the movie credit stinger.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't one because there shouldn't be one because you're leaving the movie kind of in silence in that way. So I thought that was really good because the mid credit sequence is actually part of the movie, which is also kind of something you have to like scratch your head about. Like, why was this part of the movie? Why would it have to be the mid-credit sequence?
It's stupid.
Because people might have left before they saw that.
It's absolutely stupid. I'm sorry.
And it's kind of important. It's really important.
It's important, but it's stupid. It's just stupid. It's so stupid. I like this movie. I really, really do. And I love Lupita and I love Letitia. I think they did wonderful. There's so many things about that whole arc of him having this hidden child and using the excuse that he wanted to keep him away from royalty and da-da-da-da. But he didn't tell the one person he really, really loves so much. Like, Shuri had no idea. Come on. That's just ridiculous. And then when, I get it, the queen calls in a favor, and basically Nakia apparently just left this kid to go on a kamikaze mission to try to save Shuri. There's so many plot holes in that whole thing. And the kid was fine. He was cute. It's nothing against the kid. I just think it's a stupid plot device that's meant to keep T'Challa alive in some aspect. Well, you just went through this whole damn movie where you're telling us to accept loss and you can't accept it. You have to make sure that it's, oh no, I still piece of them still here. Still a piece of them. You could make the argument, well, that's how the kids are. When their parents go, there's still a piece of them left. Yeah. Nobody knew about this kid. So the kid didn't exist. And it bugged me so much. I felt like it took away from Shuri's journey. I felt like it took away from Nakia as a character. I felt like it took away from the character we know as T'Challa and what he stands for and believes in. I do not like that at all.
And maybe that's why it was the mid-credit sequence instead of actually being part of the movie.
It's a pretty important part of the movie, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
I mean, God, instead of like, aha, look at this huge surprise. Even Shuri is very, very surprised because her brother that loved her, and we even got this wonderful like flashback of all these moments where he's just beaming. And what's beautiful about that is, especially if you know behind the scenes, like Chadwick Boseman, his favorite character was Shuri. So whenever Letitia would show up, like he would just glow because for whatever reason he really loved performing with her, or the character, whatever the reason, his personal reasons are. That's a beautiful like flashback set piece that they did of him and her. I really, really love that. But the idea that Mom knew about it, because she acknowledged that the Queen knew about it, but he wouldn't tell Shuri this. It's just utter bullshit. Utter bullshit. Bad storytelling. That's how I feel.
But the prince was actually a better actor than Dominique Thorne, though.
What do you mean, the prince?
The prince, T'Challa's son,
was better than
than Ironheart. Yeah,
you're insane. You're insane. I don't even know why you're making that jump. That makes no sense.
Because Ironheart, she was so like cringeworthy in her role.
She was Tony Stark. It's Tony Stark for Wakanda. That's who she is as a kid.
Yeah, but it was cringeworthy.
I disagree. I thought she was really entertaining. I had no problem with her whatsoever. And that's why are you making that side like I have a very valid point and you decide to attack her acting instead of like dealing with a very valid point that it's a dumb plot device.
Because it was the plot device is dumb, yeah, but Ironheart just was not. She was either was too young or something. It just did not jive.
I don't agree with you. I had zero problem with her whatsoever. I don't want to watch her show because I feel like it's just Iron Man again. And like the suit is even Iron Man. There's not much difference between that and Iron Man. I've already saw that movie.
Yeah, other than it can go really high in the sky and be able to survive without oxygen for a long time.
I thought Dominique Thorne was very good. I liked Riri Williams, so I'm not with you.
Mm-mm.
The only one that wasted character-wise was Everett Ross. Like, why is Martin Freeman here? What is he doing? What a wasted... I mean, he's my favorite colonizer too, I guess, in this series. But what is he doing here? What's the point?
Well, the point is that he's the ex to
Val. To Val.
To Val, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it barely just showed up Val in this entire phase. Like, was Val supposed to be the bad person? Like, that's what we're saying about phase 4, is that there just hasn't felt like there was a Thanos.
It just doesn't feel like there's any
we got Val
connection.
at the end of Black Panther, and we got Val in some of the shows, that were airing on Disney Plus, but it's like we haven't really is Val supposed to be bad? Like, I don't understand what Val's purpose is.
Much like many of your points, it just doesn't connect.
Right. Screw you.
Just say kind of all over the map.
I really liked it. I really liked M'Baku in this one.
I did. I really, really liked Winston Duke and how he kind of used, all the actors, the mainline actors, I think are fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. But yeah, M'Baku is really, really kind of showed his maturity as a leader in this one too.
Yeah, for sure. Giving him refuge in their area of Wakanda, the advisor to Shuri and what she needs to do next. I think all of that is just really, really well done and actually really well written. And I even like that. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And Danae Guerrera as Okoye. I always say it wrong. I apologize. She's a wonderful actress and so powerful a presence. And like her breakdown at the Queen's hands was just...
Yes. She slams the spear into the ground and wants to walk away in shame.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
so good.
Gutting. So the performances are fantastic across the board. I mean, Angela Bassett she is a queen. I mean, she's the most well-known of the cast. And my God, did she deliver when she needed to. Just crushed it. Have I not given everything? Meanwhile, you got Lupita Nyong'o, who I think is one of the best actresses working today, and she's got nothing. Hardly anything going on in the movie. Probably because she's got to hide this hidden kid. Ugh, I hate that plot device.
Well, she had to work in the shadows and be a secret assassin.
Yeah, she gave all that up. I mean, I don't know about you, but I figured it was probably a kid as soon as she said that. It felt like, oh, okay, this is where they're going with it. Please don't. But they're gonna.
And they did.
And they did. Ugh.
But only if you stuck around.
So what did you think about Namor? Since we're talking about the cast, basically.
Okay, so
Huerta.
this is the weird thing for me. So we're going to basically drink a similar potion to the herbal flower, right? And it's going to turn all of our humans into blue people, except for this one guy who also then happens to have wings on his feet. Like nobody else has wings on their feet. I mean, how long has this guy been around? Like there hasn't been
Hundreds
any kind
of
of like genetic, mutation or whatever inside of the species. It just didn't make sense. At the same time, I think Namor, I really like when he takes Shuri down to the city and then he actually made the sun, for his people. So he's got the same right to protect his land as Wakanda has the right to protect their land from France and the United States. And I think it's a really interesting ploy about how they needed to come to a realization that they needed each other against the rest of the world because of the resources they have. So the only thing that didn't land for me is then when Namor truly does become the villain at the end of the movie. And he's like, now I have her where I want her. It's like, oh my God, really? Like, I thought we were going to be friends and take on the actual bad people, which are the United States and all the other world powers. But apparently not.
Mm.
But he was good. He was good. I love the exposition is long.
See what I mean?
But
plot holes, all kinds of plot holes in this thing. Like if you really take 5 seconds and get past the emotion and the very, very moving tribute to Chadwick Boseman, everybody agrees. Performance is fantastic. Script wise, it's a mess.
Script wise, it's a mess. They got to tell you a lot of stuff for you to understand what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm. And you can really feel, I mean, tell me if you agree with this. I really feel like you could tell there was a movie that was completed, because I know Ryan Coogler, who wrote and directed this, had completed a draft before Chadwick Boseman died. You can tell that they took that story and also added this other story. So it's basically like completely tweaked of what the original script would have been. Right. I think the original script would have just been Wakanda going against Namor and Talokan, however you say it. I think that would be very much more of what people would have probably embraced overall. This feels like, I think that's why the script feels like kind of a mess, is because they're trying to do a couple different movies at once.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see where it was supposed to be, these two long lost tribes finding each other and then battling each other while the world powers sit on the side and watch, versus, kind of like you never knew, like, are they fighting the world power? Is Wakanda going to help the United States against this tribe? Are they going to team up against like who was the bad guy at the end of the day? Yeah,
it feels like the United States and other governments was definitely at one point a bigger part of the picture. Was a bigger piece of this puzzle.
It was the whole opening of the movie.
Yes, absolutely. And it just became kind of minor because we really want to focus on, dealing with death and moving on. And I like that. I do like that Marvel did that because it's different. They don't do that usually. Usually if there's a death, there's also some crazy way that they can come back to life, really, if you want to. I'm still waiting for Iron Man 4 somehow. So it was nice to see finality.
But you don't bring in the West Wing's Richard Schiff if there isn't going to be a bigger role for him in the movie. And there just wasn't. And it's kind of sad.
Yeah, there was a lot of missed opportunities in that respect. I like Namor. I feel like the character was interesting. I did like how they connected he and Shuri's paths at the end with their mothers and whatnot. I thought that was very, very interesting. It was really good to see how she, showed that she's a different kind of Black Panther. And getting Killmonger to pop up in her vision was really interesting. I thought that was an interesting dynamic because you're basically showing she's got connections to her uncle's side. So she's got a little bit edgier undertones because she's dealt with so much pain, and especially little she lost her mom too. I mean, there's just a lot of rage brewing there, and I really like how they handled it and how she still is the Shuri we know, but there's a little bit more of an edge to her. And I feel like the next film could definitely be a lot, hit the ground running finally. But yeah, I like the Namor story. I just feel like it was crammed into a movie that was supposed to be a lot different than it ended up being.
Yeah, I felt like the Namor story could have been done in like a 10 panel intermission.
The one we got
the
here,
actual movie that to get the movie that we actually wanted, which was either U.S. attacks Namor or something, or it was like the movie started out with like a really great concept of like world powers attack this other people because Wakanda won't help them. And then these people have to like work together, but then you find out they're actually bad. And so then Wakanda actually works with the world powers to take out the bad people. It's kind of where you think the movie's going from the start. And then it doesn't go there at all.
Yeah. Maybe not bad, but shades of gray.
Yeah.
Shades of gray.
Everybody is right in their own opinion from their point of view. You just have to understand that sometimes points of view can be wrong.
And I will say, like, if the performances weren't so outstanding, I really feel like the movie would have suffered under the weight of all this that it's trying to do.
But the performances are so good. The costumes, the funeral robes are amazing.
Oh man, that was like a beautifully shot scene too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really good art in this movie that you can forgive a lot of the bad script. And
the score and soundtrack are both
phenomenal.
Yeah, phenomenal. Like this movie should be a 9, you know? I feel like there's so much here that it should be a 9. There's so much talent in front of the camera, and I know Ryan Coogler is a very, very talented director and writer. I just feel like, you know, he was trying to do too much, maybe. Maybe they're just trying to do too much at once. And they're also trying to honor their friend and loved one, which I respect, because far too often we don't do that when people pass away. It's nice when usually all you get is a little dedicated to Chadwick kind of thing at the end, and here we got like a really, really detailed memorial almost.
Yeah, unfortunately we saw these really cool daggers that Shuri made, and they were only present for like the first part of the movie, and then it's like, man, we should use those daggers to like cut up some of the script and got it shaved down about a half an hour.
It definitely was like about a good half hour too long. Yeah, and not in a good way. Like Black Panther itself was pretty long, but man, it was riveting the entire time. Yeah,
this was like, okay, guys, we're bordering on the Eternals. Does this feel like an Eternal?
Easy.
There's a lot of the Eternals that I like. The problem with the Eternals is it was so long. Well,
you and I are not going to agree on that one, because I did not like Eternals. There's a lot of possibility. That's a movie where I watch and go, possibilities. Wasted possibility. That's what that whole movie is. You can call it that. That should be the name. Eternal possibilities.
Yeah, I just think that there was a lot of, wasted stuff between, Richard Schiff and the French secretary being in this, and then, wasted, Val is just there for more like comic relief with Ross, and then Ross is just there for, I don't know, eye candy, I guess. I don't know, because
humor.
He's just there for the breakout of the van so that Okoye has something to do. There's just a lot of just random small stuff that just didn't really fit.
Did it seem to you, make sure you tell me if you think I'm wrong, but it looks like M'Baku is going to be the new king then.
He should be.
I mean, but that's what it looks like. So Shuri's not interested in being queen, is the way that
Correct.
I took it.
Yeah. She's just going to stay being the Black Panther. Because the Black Panther doesn't have to be royalty. The Black Panther could just be the Black Panther. Whoever drinks the herb and goes to the ancestral plane.
Yeah, I like that, actually. I like that tweak on it. So what's your favorite moment? We talked a lot about things that didn't work for us, plot holes and whatnot. So let's get positive. I don't want people to think we're trashing it, because we both enjoyed the movie, just several nitpicks. So what were your favorite moments from Wakanda Forever?
I love the car chase motorcycle sequence.
Oh, it was a great scene.
That was really, really good. I like when they go down and you see the underwater people and just how happy they are and just living life. And then you get to the temple and you see the sun globe thing come out of the top of the temple and what Namor has to protect. I thought that whole sequence visually was stunning. Man, everything Angela Bassett did.
Oh my God, she's so good.
When she's talking at the UN at the start of the movie, and then they finally drag in the mercs that try to infiltrate. Awesome. And then the whole like, have I not suffered enough? Where's my daughter? So good. Yeah, those are definitely the key ones.
I loved how Shuri recreated the flower power.
Flower power.
Yeah, I really, really, because she is extremely smart, and I like that they didn't forget that while they're rebuilding the Black Panther. I thought that was just a really, really clever way to do it. I mean, you always knew it had to come back somehow, but it was like, how are they going to do it? Well, a synthetic way, and she found a way to regrow it in some aspects. So it just, and I also really, really, yes, the movie is alluding to dealing with grief and loss and death and whatnot and acceptance of that. there is a
and whether you should take revenge or not take
sure,
revenge.
Sure, of course. But there's also a really, really subtle aspect that I love that didn't get addressed enough by people that I've talked to about it, where, you know, she suffers from not being able to save him. She's so smart. She has all this technology and she couldn't do anything to help him. And, you know, that's a big source of what she suffers with and the grief that she suffers with. And I think that's something even people that aren't remarkably intelligent, that have unlimited resources, suffer with regularly. That was a nice touch of character depth that Coogler and company introduced.
I even really liked Killmonger showing up in the astral plane.
I thought it was great. Like, what a great cameo. What a great cameo.
That was a shock. Like, that's the one thing, like, if you got spoiled on that, oh, that would have been brutal. Because that's really where the movie starts to take off. It's like, oh, she's struggling with her inner demons. Like, this is what we have to talk about from a Black Panther perspective. What kind of Black Panther is she going to be?
Mm-hmm. And it gives you that, I don't know, what's she going to do? What's she going to do? I mean, you always know she's going to do good because she's a good person, but she's got some edge to her. And this, all of these events have really darkened her soul a little bit.
And then she's standing there over Namor with the spear at his throat going like, is your mom's name Martha?
That was kind of a Martha moment. Marvel's like, we'll do Martha, but we'll do it right.
DC and Marvel always steal from each other. Just saying.
Well, they do. I mean, Namor is basically Aquaman. I mean,
it was a Martha moment. I mean, they like flashed to her mom, his mom, her mom, his mom.
It works though. This one works.
Yeah, Batman not so much.
I mean, it works ish.
We agree. Why'd you say that name? Stupid.
It's dumb. It's not as dumb as having the secret love child though. Like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. So he's never seen this kid because he's running Wakanda. Ugh.
And why does he need to be hidden? It's not like he has the superpowers because the flower was gone.
We'll want to keep him away from royalty. The whole argument for that is just dumb. That and that his sister wouldn't. Anyway, I'm getting on things I didn't like. We're supposed to be talking about positive. Nakia's her escape I thought was really great. I mean, it just showed how great she is at it. The fact that she could get all the way down to an underwater kingdom in the middle of nowhere, find her, get her out without any blips other than, you know, killing and starting a war.
And where that's like the good thing, it's like, I'm surprised in that moment that Shuri didn't like fight back against her and say like, why'd you come here? Like, I didn't ask you to come here. Like, there's good things happening down here. I thought for sure that Shuri was actually going to stay with Namor at that point.
Maybe she would have had that girl not been killed.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because Nakia does fire the weapon.
Yeah.
And take out two people.
Totally starts a war.
Yep.
Totally. Even if she didn't mean to, still kind of started a war. Why you got to put that on her shoulders?
There was no accidental dragon death here. This was clearly she shot him.
To be fair, I mean, she had to. It was the right thing to do. She's trying to save her queen or her princess. Sorry.
Did she need to shoot? I mean, it's like, this is how misunderstandings happen. Did you need to shoot him? Did you stop and ask questions? Did they draw a weapon on you first?
Namor didn't even ask.
Yeah.
It was too bad because they were coming to some peaceful reconciliation, I think. But on the same token, what they wanted wasn't a fair ask. Why do we need to kill the scientist? That's another plot hole where it's just like, why? Like, scientists don't leave data behind? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But I guess you've been living underwater for a while. Maybe you don't know what research is. God knows most of the people above ground don't know. I can imagine that underwater people probably wouldn't either.
The pressure's getting to them.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So what else you want to talk about from Black Panther Wakanda Forever? What do you want to see happen next? Where do you want this to go? So, I mean, they made the choice, right? They're in. It's Shuri is Black Panther for the foreseeable future.
Well, it said at the end, if you stay to the end, it said Black Panther will return.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it didn't say in Black Panther or in the new Avengers or whatever it would be, but the Black Panther does exist.
Absolutely. Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars, Black Panther's coming back. And it very much seems like Shuri is going to be for the foreseeable future Black Panther. But we have little T'Challa in the wings waiting, I guess.
He's got to grow up a little bit first.
Well, you know, it's Marvel. Next time he'll be 35 years old.
Right. Another blip will happen and it'll be 30 years later.
That's all you got to do. That's how you solve it. Right. Another blip. Boom. Aged him up. It's kind of what happened with Ant-Man's daughter.
Which I did see the new Ant-Man trailer, Ant-Man and the Wasp in Quantumanium. That looks really good. The trailer was pretty awesome. Not going to lie.
I don't like I don't think it looks good at all. We are on different planes.
I just think Ant-Man movies do not take themselves seriously, and that's why they're fun.
I agree. There's too many special effects in what I saw. The whole thing looks like a cartoon, and I just completely took me out of it.
Yeah, that's expected though, because it's the quantum realm.
Sure, it doesn't.
I mean, it's like we were saying. Is Strange New World from Disney going to be that same way, where it's like so stylized that it's going to be hard to watch?
Well, that's what Ant-Man looks like to me. So back to Wakanda Forever. What do you want to see? What do you want to see next? I mean, we're going to get an Ironheart TV show. So are you going to watch it? You're going to skip it since you didn't like Riri?
I haven't seen Hawkeye. I haven't seen Winter Soldier or whatever that was. Falcon the Winter Soldier. I haven't seen Loki.
Wow.
Only one I watched was WandaVision. So no, probably not.
Okay.
Didn't like the character. Didn't like the whole like weirdness in the dorm room. The only part that was cool was when she was like upset in the workshop. That's where like there was a little bit of fire in her that was like, okay. But once I got to the lab, it was like she was a waste. Just did not even need to be on the screen.
So what do you want to see next? Anything? Where do you want to see Black Panther go?
I want to see M'Baku be the Black Panther. I think M'Baku's fun. I like the M'Baku character.
I think it would be a disservice at this point to do that because you've already established Shuri's the new Black Panther. Unless Letitia Wright, because I know she suffered a bad injury on this. She hurt her back doing that motorcycle scene. Yep. So if she doesn't want to continue because of her own choice, then I understand that. But if she wants to continue, I think it would be a disservice to her to not, give her several movies and do the whole Black Panther thing. Maybe down the road, M'Baku, I'd love to see Winston Duke as Black Panther, or just have him be his king, and we just get more of him in the movie. I feel like he's underutilized.
Yeah, I just, we're at the point now where we need some aliens or something like Phase 3 style.
Mm-hmm.
Because there isn't like, what are you gonna fight against United States again? Like M'Baku versus Val? Like boring.
Kang's coming in the Ant-Man movie, and the Kang will be a big factor in the next phase. So we will have Kang coming.
But I mean, from like a standalone Black Panther perspective, it's like you already did the don't steal my resources, and our king is dead, and like short of like Okoye and M'Baku getting together and becoming like a power couple. I don't know.
I want them to hit the ground running. I want them to show more. The next movie, I want it to be a tighter, fast-moving, just like a freight train of fun. That's what I want. I want a freight train of fun for the next one.
I think at this point,
have an established hero or established villain, that established arc, tie in all the extra shit you need to, whatever, but just have it smooth and move at a good clip, and get Lupita more involved.
And Wakanda can't be segregated from the world anymore. I think we're at that point where, okay, we now know that vibranium exists outside of Wakanda, so there's no point in Wakanda being isolated. Like Wakanda needs to be on the world stage, helping drive policy and whatnot, and being one with the Avengers as they reassemble.
Wouldn't you kind of say that this movie? I mean, I really believe that when I said that earlier. This movie kind of established very well that T'Challa made the wrong call by saying he'd share this with the world. I mean, this movie is kind of just saying, look how awful it is. Look at all the damage it's done. There's a reason why we didn't share with them for generations. So bad call, King. Bad call. Bad King.
And just need the right leaders in place.
And you brought hell on earth to a underwater city that didn't want nothing to do with any of this. They were just doing just fine.
They would have showed up eventually.
Totally looked like Avatar, though. James Cameron's probably pissed.
He is fuming. I mean, they're like riding on whales, climbing up ships. I mean, it was like, I saw this trailer just before this movie.
And the effects look better in that one. Really do. The new Avatar effects look fantastic.
Well, they have to. I mean, it's all CGI.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Trey. Well, I got nothing else on Wakanda Forever unless you do.
Go see it just so I win the bet. It's really great.
For people that didn't listen to last week's episode, we have a bet. I say Avatar is going to ultimately gross more money domestically than Black Panther, and Troy says I'm nuts. So far, I think Troy's probably winning because it made $181 million opening weekend. So, yeah, doing pretty well. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Let us know what you thought about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Hit us up at Buy Popcorn. Find us on Facebook, The Hollywood Outsider. Just let us know. What did you think of Wakanda Forever? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you loathe it? Do we have good points about the plot holes? Is the kid a dumb plot device? Not is the kid dumb. Kid's probably lovely. Is the kid a dumb plot device? I want to know what you guys think. All right.
And should it have been in the movie and not in the mid-credit sequence?
Yeah. Should have actually been part of the movie, since it seems like a very, very important part of the movie. We don't want to detract from Shuri's journey. Well, you only waited 30 seconds before you did, so just put it in the movie. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of The Hollywood Outsider. We're off next week, so we'll be back the following week after Thanksgiving. So everybody remember, the next time you head to a theater or sit comfortably on your couch, streaming in your sweatpants, buy popcorn.
Was that a pee-pee joke?
Oh.
I don't know. Streaming in my PJs. What?